Hi there, my name is Bharadwaj Giridhar. You're not going to be able to pronounce that. Hi there, my name is BG. I'm going to be walking you through an insane case study we've been able to put through with LinkedIn. Now, seeing this specific title, you might have the intention that you're going to be able to reproduce this at such a low ad spend. And I'm going to tell you upfront, it's not going to happen right away. This is because B2B brands on average take about 7 to 11 exposures and their sales cycles are extremely long. I've been doing this for over 6 to 8 months to generate connections, nurture content with these specific leads, and that brand essentially increases the number of clicks in how we've been able to do this. Now, you see some insane numbers, and I'm going to back this up with actual screenshots. It's $83,000, 450 in pipeline, and 23,850 that's already closed. Our ticket sizes are between 2 to 15K a month, depending on what sort of activities we do for these people. Um, the reason why this is so impressive is because LinkedIn is known for extremely high ad spends, and a lot of B2B brands are not taking advantage of this. And one of our main goals is to help B2B people generate new logos because it's tough than ever, right? Awesome. So let's jump into this. Like I said, we are selling paid engagements between 2 to 5K. It's usually over a 3-month period, so you can calculate the ticket size. We sell LinkedIn content, LinkedIn outbound, the same things that I'm going to be going through. You can look at the stats. I'm going to link a blog post to the end of this post, as well as some of the screenshots of these meetings that actually got booked. And here you can actually see the ad spend, which was a total of $81.26. And this is only targeted in the US region against CEOs and CMOs of companies that have private equity. I'm going to be going through my exact funnel. Cool. So the first thing you might have in your mind is, sure, this could work for you, you're a marketing agency, but could this work for me as a B2B SaaS person, or I have a specific offering that could be sold? These are basically the 4 questions you need to ask yourself to see if you can sell this in this specific funnel. You have a specific list of B2B job titles that you can target, and they need to have case studies for that specific offering or product that you're trying to solve. One more thing is there are a lot of industries where people are not active on top of LinkedIn. You got to make sure that these people are highly active on top of LinkedIn. You have a customer lifetime value that is above $10,000. So if you sell something in a recurring subscription, the overall lifetime should be about $10,000, right? And I'm going to walk you through some of the reasons why you could try this. It's mainly because our motivation to try this was we were booking a lot of calls through cold email and cold outbound. But because we do marketing strategy, it's very hard for us to essentially get leads to trust us because they're trusting us with their LinkedIn profile, their branding, and their marketing strategy. And these are all people who have raised over $10 million, who have questions that need to be answered to their investors. So there's a lot of hesitation. And one of the things that this funnel essentially solves for us is that they're coming in nurtured by looking at our content and case studies, and that is usually helping us close more of these leads. One more thing is I'm an Indian guy. There's a huge problem for Indians selling abroad, especially the US markets, because of the past history we've had by some bad apples. So we try to solve that by essentially giving it all away to the public domain, including this video, so that we can build that specific trust. It's extremely low CAC, but again, it takes time to build the brand. This is not a funnel that you can implement today and see results within the next 2 weeks. It takes 6 to 8 months to properly find winning content topics, to find your research audience, and we're also generally limited by the algorithm to add only 250 people to your LinkedIn profile every week. One advantage that I love about LinkedIn ads is that they are extremely targeted than Google ads or Facebook ads. You essentially don't control who is looking at your ad in these other platforms, but because all of this data is self-reported by these people on top of LinkedIn, and the amount of fake users on LinkedIn is the lowest compared to other social media platforms, you're going to be removing a lot of bot clicks and a lot of unqualified leads. That's a lot of time saved, or the wrong set of prospects you might be spending on top of other platforms. One more thing is the average revenue per user that's generated on top of LinkedIn is 10 times higher than that of Instagram or any other ad platform that you're looking at. Now, here's the actual post that generated $83,000 in pipeline. And it basically talks about what marketing strategy we would implement for someone else if hypothetically we were hired as their head of growth. This works well because it starts with a big promise. I'm promising them that, hey, here is how you could get to $1 million in revenue as soon as possible, and here are all the things that you need to be doing. Right? And what's more impressive here is that it's very easy to make these promises because we call them hooks, where you say that you're going to do something impressive, but a lot of people fall back because they don't actually have anything new to say. And this is where the brand building part comes into play. You need to constantly keep talking to your customers, understanding what they actually want, as well as figuring out if you can actually deliver on this promise. So a lot of things that I went through in this specific post, it's not generic advice. People do not usually know these channels exist, right? So organically, this performed well. I think we were around 30,000 impressions. For context, I was at around 13,000 followers when I posted this a couple of months ago, and it generated some good traffic. Not all of my posts go viral, so I'm going to go through the specific details on what made this LinkedIn post exactly go viral. So first thing is the engagement strategy of my specific post. A lot of people, when they want to start generating pipeline on top of LinkedIn, they start creating these bot accounts that they connect to a program like Dripify or Expandy, and they just start blasting out these cold email messages. Now, if you're targeting someone who has raised 5 million or 10 million, there's a very good chance that they're getting 10 other cold emails or cold LinkedIn messages every single day. And they don't really have the time to give you their attention. And when you're actually popping up on their feed, it's a completely different game. One of the ways that we've seen that we can actually pop on someone else's feed consistently is to actually use comments. So a lot of people, they want to start posting on their complete profile, but their network basically consists of people that they went to high school with, their college folks, as well as their school folks. This does not convert well. So what we do instead is we find the people, call them thought leaders, and I'll also go into detail on how we find these people, and we start commenting on their posts. Now, the first time I say this to someone else, they basically think commenting is something like, hey, this is a great post, or every post someone else who's ahead of them keeps posting. That's not how it works. So think of a comment as an extension of the post. What we're actually trying to do is steal some of their audience to come view your LinkedIn profile, and it's free real estate. The LinkedIn algorithm allows you to post only once a day, but you can do as many comments as you want and keep coming back on their specific feed. One more thing is, if you're in the B2B world, you have to understand that this is a very small world. I've rarely seen people do something and get away with it in such a way that if you have something to offer, you have to really deliver on that specific promise. So don't do shady, sketchy stuff. Be genuine, be authentic. Don't post fake screenshots. Don't say things that you are not actually done. And just focus on what you are as an expert. LinkedIn is a great way to actually understand what your audience wants, but it's also a learning platform for you to deliver on that specific promise. So don't think of everything as a transaction, like if I do this specific comment, am I getting ROI out of this? Like, this is something that CEOs love to think about these days, especially because it's getting harder for them to raise funds, and their customers are constantly questioning them on ROI. Adam Robinson quotes this, and so many other great B2B SaaS companies quote this. You cannot track ROI on every single activity, but you want to keep doing them so that you have enough sample size to track them. Sure, if you're doing one comment a day, and then 7 days later, you can go ahead and say, this is not working for me. But what is really happening is you've not done 100 or 1,000 comments, and none of them was probably insightful. So you need to keep doing these activities without making the other person feel that they are just an object. And whenever salespeople try to do this, and that's why salespeople have a really bad reputation. So think that you actually love your customers. You're here to solve a problem. You're here to be helpful as much as possible. And that's how you create these comments. So you create an extension of the post, you give some advice, you give some strategic planning decisions. I also have a PDF that I'll link in the description of this video where I will go through how you can do better comments on top of LinkedIn. Now, one more thing that was huge for this post to get in those first 6 meetings organically was the fact that I had tagged a lot of companies in that specific post. Now, why does this work? Every company probably has a social media team that's supposed to create content every single day. Now, it's very hard for them to create great engaging content every day, but if it's already engaging on someone else's post, they just basically have to click comment on it, and they again have more visibility. Now, what sort of brands you tag is also relevant. So I want you to look at other tools or other services, people in that specific B2B space who are selling to the exact same audience. So let's say your target audience is CMOs. There are a lot of software companies that target just CMOs. Or if you do services, there are a lot of complementary services like design and marketing that are again targeting the same CMOs. So it's okay that you actually can tag those people, and them commenting on it has a huge impact because people now trust that you are real and you have a sense of community to essentially amplify the stuff that you're actually saying. Now, if you just randomly tag a lot of people, you're going to get flagged on top of LinkedIn. Second thing is, if you want to start posting or creating a content calendar, you want to really figure out what your audience cares about. A lot of people that we deal with, they are technical CEOs and they want to build their own SaaS product. The problem with this specific approach is that they might be building to a job audience that they have no idea on what their problems really are. A lot of those times, we see that these problems are out of the grasp of what your solution could offer. For example, if I help CEOs get more revenue, the headache that might be on top of their head might just be the fact that they are struggling to raise their next round, which is out of market conditions that are outside of your control. But what we want to do here is still tag those topics. So think of them as top of the funnel content, middle of the funnel content, bottom of the funnel content. Whenever we start working with some CEOs, they're super reliant that we want to stick into their specific niche. But what you want to do is actually create content for your audience that can actually help them solve their problems, even if you don't have a solution for that. But they're going to think of you whenever they need a solution for the problem that you are solving. This also comes in with the more number of conversations you can have. The reason I say that is because a lot of times people are not ready to expose what they want online. But if you go to these physical events, community events, or you just talk to your friend circle and ask them to introduce you to someone of the same job title, you can maximize these conversations and actually figure out what bothers them. And I've always seen that people are more likely to share these stuff offline than online. So you can get the insights offline and translate them into useful content online. One more thing that went really well with this specific post is the hook. So a hook is basically a promise that makes you want to read or watch a specific content piece. In this hook, it is very impressive that using one post, I've generated $80,000 in revenue. Likewise, your tool or product or service could be solving something, and that could be formed into a case study, which is impressive for other people. A lot of times, if you solve a problem that is very huge for one company in a niche, there's a very good chance that other companies in the same niche have the exact same problem and they also find it equally impressive. You can maximize this by talking to more people, but it usually needs to be something related to time, effort, money, or authority. So, what I mean by that is you either start out by saying how much time you saved for someone or how much money you made or saved for someone else or the amount of effort you put into that specific post. Now, I have sent over 1 million cold emails. So that makes me qualified for someone to actually listen to me. So the problem that we're trying to solve here is there is so much bullshit online, which is why I go into great extent into showing these screenshots to you, that people need a lot of trust before they can invest their time into reading this, because the exact same time that you're watching this or reading this, you could be spending it on a TikTok post or a blog post. So hooks are a great way to actually hook in people, but deliver on the promise that you actually started out with, right? One more thing that probably helped with this post is the profile funnel. So after looking at a post, people usually visit your profile and they look at other content pieces. Now this is usually a B2C trend and it's becoming more active in the B2B space. People want to decide who they are dealing with, and having a face behind your specific brand is really useful. A lot of people think B2B is supposed to be very professional, and we see that that is changing over time. New age brands with people who can create a personal brand drive more pipeline than people who blast these cold emails. And you need something that can explain what your solution offers within 11 seconds. So in my case, I made it very clear that we make brands unignorable on top of LinkedIn, and creating a brand is basically increasing the amount of people who book a call with you versus the amount of people who you can actually reach. So the better of a brand you have by doing these content pieces, doing community events, by just posting the right content and trying to be helpful, it increases the amount of people who are willing to work with you. And that is something that I constantly do. I cut a lot of BS. I can choose to inflate my numbers, but I actually calculate how much of pipeline I did, how much I closed, and I always expose it. So same can be done on top of a product after you implemented that product with someone else. Now, just by being aware of your specific solution and its impact, you will actually be able to close more people because it's more realistic and other people aren't constantly doing it. So no more BS, no more buzzwords. Make sure that anyone who's at a junior role can actually understand what your product or solution solves. One more thing that usually helps us is relevant case studies. So branding and lead generation is one of those things where in the beginning of this, you're going to have more problems because people don't actually trust you, but it's easier to convince them that you can do it if you've previously done it for someone else. We have that because we've been doing this for over 3 years, which kind of sweetens the deal for them when they actually book a call. A lot of B2B buyers, they don't like to fill forms, which I'll show you the proof in a couple of seconds. They like to go onto the website, read your previous case studies, look at your current customers, even go to extents as in messaging them to ask them if this is the right choice for them, and then they will come and actually sign up for your specific product. Now, LinkedIn-led lead generation is not great for everybody. I think we've established that. But even this specific approach has a bit of cons, and I'm going to be upfront about it. Now, time to add people to your network is still something that you cannot solve on top of LinkedIn, which means that you cannot add more than 250 people to your network every week. And this is a problem because a lot of people want to spend money and get those results fast, but it is just something where the quality of the product is good because you are limited by the amount of connection requests you can send. You can still get inbound connection requests with the content pieces that we do, but if you want to target high-level CEOs, you usually have to have a push first motion. And this takes time, and this is why it takes time. But you can see how that time translates into money later. I can almost assure you, if you are doing a post on top of LinkedIn and even running LinkedIn ads on top of that, If you are spending $1,000 to get 15 clicks, I can do that in $100 because I've already invested the time into giving that messaging and strategy to my audience already, right? Now, there's no concept of evergreen ads on top of LinkedIn, especially if you're doing thought leadership. It's mainly because thought leadership by in itself is a novel concept, and anything that you say that is already publicly visible, public wisdom, is not useful for other people to wanting to try your specific products or services. So you need to constantly create new posts that are equally insightful, and you have to run ads on top of that, versus something like a graphic image that has your offering and people fill out a form. I can assure you B2B buyers don't buy like that, or your ad spend on top of LinkedIn is gonna go off the roofs. One more thing that usually happens in this case is you need a bit of human touch. So a lot of these CEOs, they've already worked with some agencies or they've already worked with a salesman at a specific product, and they don't want to go into that sales funnel because as soon as they push that specific button, they are gonna get like 5 emails, 2 phone calls, and so many different activities onto their life. So they are very, very skeptical and they want to be very cautious before interacting with a brand. In that case, you still need to initiate those conversations, so you can always track who is viewing your profile after running a specific thought leadership ad, and you still have to message them like a human. The more you try to do this with AI, the more they want to run away from you, right? So these are some cons, depends on how you actually see it. But again, the biggest value add here is that you have a stream of organic leads coming in. You have a brand that converts more of your audience than something that is run behind a faceless brand. Again, coming slightly touching on our LinkedIn philosophy, we want to solve problems. We don't want to push sales to anybody. So we genuinely keep our conversations about solving someone's problem, and most often it's not outbound, it's inbound. So make sure that you are not blasting out these cold email messages because it's going to stop them to wanting to actually interact with you. If you send cold email messages that you send to other people, for every 1,000 contacts you can book a meeting. On LinkedIn it's actually 2.5, on email it's actually 1. But is that what you want to do in case that the total number of accounts that you actually need to succeed is just 30,000? Because more of the market you can capture, more of a moat you have for your specific company. Um, Again, going into the topics that we already discussed, it takes time to build a brand. You have to constantly keep posting content. You have to constantly run webinars. You have to constantly keep commenting. These are all the things that we do for the brands that we work with. But even if you're doing this yourself, if you're just going to do this for 1 or 2 weeks, it's not going to work out. So one more thing I want to touch here is a lot of B2B brands that we work with. I don't know why they think this way, but as soon as they get a 700K, 1 million paycheck, they go ahead and hire all these engineers and they think marketing is tomorrow's problem. And they end up burning all their cash and they're unable to raise their next round, and they come crying to a lead generation agency. Now, a lead generation agency can do a lot of stuff for you, but it cannot reduce the sales cycle and the exposure that's required for someone to buy your specific product. I want to emphasize on this: start marketing before you sell, or like alongside you sell, even if the product is not ready. Because I cannot save you if you're 2 months away from your next fund round and you don't have any cash. Irrespective of how much you can spend on top of LinkedIn ads, your returns are going to be poor, and it's just a bad way to do business. Start marketing from day one. In the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're PE backed, doesn't matter if you're bootstrapped, you need cash for a business to survive. And a lot of these founders think that just because they have private equity, they want to build a great product and they don't need to talk to customers. It's funny because you look at the best accelerators in the world like YC, and it's very clear that the more you talk to your customers, the more you'll realize the product that you're building is not the solution that they want. So there are going to be pivots, there are going to be changes in your roadmap. So it's counterintuitive to not get customers in the name of building a better product. Okay, so let's get a bit more tactical. I'm going to walk you through all different things that we did in order to make it a success. A part of it is our LinkedIn connection strategy. We don't add a lot of our potential customers' ICP accounts into our account. The reason why we do that is we don't want zombie connections. A lot of these people might be qualified to buy, but they're not going to like or comment on our post. What we do instead is find a lot of engagement heroes, as we call them. These are people who are usually very active around a specific topic on LinkedIn, and I'll also show you a way to find them. And what you want to do is basically go into their profile, click on comments, and see how often they comment on other people's posts, so that you're able to actually understand that this person is likely to engage with you if you post good stuff, which is what you're actually optimizing for. Anyone with over 40,000 connections talking about the things that you're actually trying to solve, there's a good chance that they have your customers in their request, in their network list. So all you have to do is comment on their posts instead of trying to beat them with your own network. You're going to eventually do that, but again, you're limited by the algorithm. So we go ahead and comment on these posts. Again, webinars, not a lot of takeaways, but we've spent a lot of money figuring out these webinar funnels. We can run ads, you can send a lot of cold emails, but what I've seen to actually work is using the LinkedIn Live section inside of LinkedIn. LinkedIn Live basically runs the webinar within the LinkedIn platform, and users could actually keep scrolling on social media while they actually listen to you. And this is usually more helpful and engaging because they don't have to go anywhere. Another thing in which it helps is basically when you're sending a cold email or an ad, they have to again fill up a form. There's so much friction in order to even be able to attend. I see a lot of B2B brands that are driving all this traffic into a landing page where they have to fill out a form. It doesn't have to be that complicated. If someone is interested, it should be very easy for them to opt in. And with LinkedIn, you can invite people using their profile. All you have to do is go into a profile, click on events, and click on invite. Invite all the first party connections that you have, and they will get a notification like a connection request with a tick mark or a cross mark. So if they click tick, LinkedIn is also going to notify them the day the webinar is actually happening, and they might also be active in those hours, which increases the chance of them showing up. One more thing that makes people show up is the attendees and the guest speakers that you have. So try to find a guest speaker again who sells to your specific audience but doesn't have the exact same offering as you. This usually helps. We've already gone through the comment strategy. One more thing I want to add about the webinars is that you need to send them notification and reminders. You can use Phantom Buster to scrape these leads and Apollo to send them out, but you need to send them email reminders that it's gonna be happening in the next day. Please attend. Please, attend the actual invitation. So there's one more thing called LinkedIn contributions, which is AI generated articles from which they need real people to answer or add their experiences about that specific subtopic. So think of these like comments. It doesn't have to be over 35 words, but you just need to constantly do it in a specific topic in which your customers are going to be finding, your customers are going to find it valuable. So keep commenting on those, and you'll actually either get a yellow badge or a blue badge that says top voice, and it increases your credibility on top of LinkedIn. So okay, so let's get a bit more into the thought leadership ads. Here's the first ad that we ran. It was a basic image with a form. People had to click on it, and we spent about $72 on this. We got a cost per click of $4.80. And the funny part is, like, out of the 2,000 odd people it was shown to, 15 people actually clicked on it. But as soon as they see a form, they are running away because they want to explore it, right? So the net revenue that we added was actually zero, and this was not good for me. So then we figured out a new funnel, which is the thought leadership ads funnel, where we spent just $81 on top of the post that we've been discussing, and it had generated cost per clicks to American CEOs and CMOs at just less than half a dollar. And we booked 12 meetings out of this, and I've said that my deal size is between 6K to 15K over a period of 3 months, and we actually already closed 23K out of this. So there are some talks that are still in the pipeline. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it, but this is a completely new funnel that has not been used by your competitors. It's the fact that they are going to be seeing your ads on top of your profile on a post that you made, and LinkedIn is going to charge you less for the impressions. And the best part is your customers can then wander around with the other content that you've actually created, as well as your specific case studies, and this allows them to have more trust going in and actually booking that specific call. And I cannot stress this enough, it's very important that you do this organically for 6 to 8 months so that you can figure out what your audience actually likes just by the number of comments, likes, and impressions that post gets, and then run ads on top of that. If you do it immediately, the problem is you will not know what is actually driving meetings, and you might get more impressions but no meetings booked. So here is how you find winning topics. Now, Taplio is an amazing um, tool for this. You can go ahead and do research. So for example, you can search a specific keyword like PPC or paid ads, and you're going to see all the LinkedIn profiles that have posted about this specific thing. It's going to be categorized by the amount of likes that they get. So this will give you the thought leaders. Now, the people who comment on that tend to comment on other people's posts. You want to add them to your network, and those are called engagement heroes. And then you have your customers for which you need to go into LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you just need to put those filters in so that you can get those specific leads. Now, one more way I find my winning post topics is that out of the people who are already famous trying to sell the solution that you have, attend the webinars that they are usually selling out, read their blog posts, read their LinkedIn comments. You will see that other people are asking more questions around it, and you can just answer those questions in the replies and create new posts out of them. This usually works well. Another thing is just going to physical meetups. Try to attend every community event that's happening in your specific space. And if you have a customer call, go through the objections that they have, and then check in with existing paying customers and keep asking them why they're continuing to pay you. And these will give you the right set of topics because there's a good chance that your audience has the exact same questions. So I have a couple of more questions here on the screen, but does this affect your brand as CEO? A lot of these people have this notion that if I create a personal brand, I'm using company money to invest in my personal brand, and I'm not sure if it's the right decision. Now, B2B is actually P2P. People buy from people. So you can see that CEOs of publicly listed NASDAQ companies, like uh, I can name a ton, but Zoom Info comes into my mind, Apollo comes into my mind. Anybody who has an active audience on top of LinkedIn, there's a very good chance that their CEOs are active on top of LinkedIn creating these content pieces. Now, it might not be actually them, but it's their company, social media handler that's doing that. But the reason why they do it is LinkedIn pushes down the reach of your company page too much. For every 2 posts, you will see one sponsored company ad. For every 12 posts that you see, you will see one company organic ad. So, organic post. So, it's very useful to get more impressions, more eyeballs into your specific product using your brand image. And if you're giving actionable advice, people will actually like that, because if you're giving a very insightful post on top of your blog, nobody is going to read it. But on LinkedIn, people are already active and it's going to be on their feed. You're going to be hooking them onto a problem that they might even not know that they had. And this is very valuable. People like Adam Robinson, who's the founder and CEO of our B2B, most of his pipeline has come from content on top of LinkedIn. And they're doing over $2 million in ARR, completely bootstrapped within 3 years, just with LinkedIn content. So don't think of this as an ROI activity. Don't think that this destroys your brand image. In fact, people will come and tell you that this has been helpful. My own customers actually tell me that whenever they go to an event, they see a lot of people, they do not constantly like these people's posts, but when they go to an event and introduce themselves, they always say that I have liked and seen and read a lot of your LinkedIn posts. Now, again, here comes the question, will you do this for my SaaS and service? Yes. So we are very typically picky on the customers that we take in. But if you have something that has a customer lifetime value over $10,000, and I have a mathematical reason on why we choose this, um, it's because we have to cover your labor costs and your marketing ad spend, and then still ensure that we are able to deliver those results within 6 or 8 months, and it usually works out. There are a lot of people who have started to do this, and you need to capture this right now before it gets saturated like cold email. Um, so another question you might be thinking is, hey, why can't I do this myself? You should and you can. So it's not something like you cannot do this by yourself. I want you to, but we can actually accelerate the learnings that we've had from 19 to 300 different profiles that we have managed over the course of 3 years, instead of you having to figure out the right hooks, the right content, the right thought leadership. One more thing that you're going to have is a lot of labor arbitrage, because we have a team here in India. And if you're in America, if you're in Europe, if you're in Australia, this can actually save up a lot of costs that gets into doing the manual grunt work like sending those LinkedIn connection requests. Again, if you use a lot of automation on top of LinkedIn, it's very scary. I've bought a lot of tools for other people, but I never run them on my profile. It's because a lot of pipeline for my business comes from LinkedIn, and I don't want to disrupt that funnel. Your LinkedIn profile is very, very important. Now, it's becoming very, very hard for you to create these fake LinkedIn accounts. So, act in your best interest, create an inbound motion. Stop relying on cold outbound where you're just another person in their DM and they're not even opening your specific inbox. What's included in your offering? I don't want this to get a bit more salesy. I'm going to include all the offers and packages that we have. Again, our retainers are somewhere between like 2 to 5K. We work with a minimum 3 month retainer. Technically, it should be 6, because like that's when you're actually going to start seeing your results come around. If you're a B2B SaaS or you're a B2B service, and you have an audience that's active on top of LinkedIn, and the customer lifetime value is higher than $10,000, we can make this work. Your competitors are not doing this, and you're going to get way higher clicks for your ads than someone who does not have that specific brand, doesn't have a face to their specific brand. So go ahead and book that call if in case that fits your bill. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching this, and I hope it helped.